Welcome to the Hour of Power! This is the... Oh god, I've forgotten the name of the podcast spontaneously.
This is the Arcade Era Power Hour.
I've been watching things with similar names for several hours, and my brain just refused to string the words together. This is the Arcade Era Power Hour, episode 13, Captain N and the Supercaders, where...
Part one
of a couple episodes. We're gonna be talking about the old television shows and maybe new television shows, depending on how long it takes to get these recordings done and things happen in the meantime. That feature stuff that DK Girder cares about. The first order of business and the first episode's topic will...
The first order of business is introducing ourselves.
That's true.
I'm Milo.
That's super
Hello.
true. You are Milo. And I am Gibbon.
Hello, Gibbon.
Hello, Milo.
How are you?
I'm doing okay, all things considered. You know, the world's still the way that it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I got a new headset, so that's nice.
Oh, that's so good. That's going to make the edit much smoother.
I know, right?
But yes, as you were saying, the
Yeah,
second part of this show is where we do news and follow-up and updates.
Yes, it is. There's
since
actually
our
been
last episode.
some exciting stuff that's happened.
Yeah.
So, the first order of business, to give you an idea of how long it's been, is I believe this was shortly after we recorded the last episode. Versus Wrecking Crew, the arcade release, was re-released through Arcade Archives for the Nintendo Switch. Which, well, I want to say most of the arcade titles on the games list for DK Girder are now out on the Switch.
Oh, cool.
Or at least the
Not
classic arcade titles.
Not Ladies Golf.
Not Ladies Golf, I don't think. And not the Jungle Beat sequels, obviously.
Well, no. But yeah, versus Wrecking Crew is interesting. That's it's quite different to the NES game. It's set up as a multiplayer thing.
Yes.
And it introduces Luigi to the Wrecking Crew premise.
I want to say Versus Wrecking Crew came out first, actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because Foreman Spike was sort of the way to compensate for not having a second player on the other side of the cabinet in the home console release.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup. So there's like a flip screen thing, like the cabinets are back to back and you and another player are there, but you're sort of playing in the same game space, but they're on the other side of the wall, essentially. It's pretty cool for such an old game.
Yeah, it's a really interesting setup. They don't really do it anymore. Well, physically. You still, obviously, multiplayer games where you're getting things from your point of view is a thing that's just really common these days. But back in the day...
Yeah, like the digital space of this game reflected the physical hardware configuration, which was interesting.
Nintendo's always been pretty good about doing sort of new and mind-blowing things like that.
Remember when they had dual screen consoles?
I know, right? Whatever happened to those?
I know.
So yeah, that's cool.
And speaking of... Nope, there's no link at all. So Super Mario Maker 2 is a video game on the Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
And sometimes they do updates to it. So there was an update relatively recently which added some Doki Doki Panic content or mechanics or something.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
it was...
Gibbon?
So they added a new power-up. The way they do... They didn't have the transformation power-ups in 2 the same way they did in 1. In 1, there were just a lot of costume power-ups that changed how you looked cosmetically, but you still had the basic NES Mario moveset. Like none of the costume characters had special movesets at all.
Mm.
But the way it works in Super Mario Maker 2 is there's only a handful of those special transformations, but they come like they change how you play. So like
Mm.
there's a Link mushroom, and you actually play like Link. You have arrows and bombs, and you can charge up your
No, not
sword and
exactly
do.
like Link.
You play like Legend of Princess from the maker of Iconoclasts. Um,
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
um, you play a bit like Link in Smash Bros. Is how you play
Yeah, it is a bit like
side
that.
scrolling Link with different abilities. So
Yeah, and he's a bit more sprightly than Zelda too.
yeah, the most recent one is a power up that transforms you into the Super Mario Bros. 2 USA version of Mario. So your sprite gets slightly different, but you adopt Doki Doki Panic controls basically. So you pick up and throw stuff, and have slightly different mechanics. And they introduced a bunch of things to put in levels that sort of go along with that. You're still basically like pasting Doki Doki stuff over a Mario Bros. 1, 3, or World or New setup, so it's not quite right. But you can still put in like POW blocks, and they put in some new stuff actually, like the ability to like pick up snowballs and throw them in Snow Age stages if you are
Hmm.
playing as Super Mario Bros. 2 Mario. Um,
Yeah, it seems like a weird kind of half measure because I know people were disappointed that this wasn't a full theme.
yeah,
There's the, like you said, there's the four themes to the game, plus there's a category that says other game modes or something,
hmm
but it's only got one thing in it, and people kept expecting them to add new ones to that. And this seems like a natural fit for
yeah,
that
because
category.
the 1, 3, and new themes you can um, like change between at will. They have
And
sort of
world, yeah.
feature parity. And then the other games thing, which I think is just what 3D World at the moment,
Yes.
um, was restricted to like it wasn't a full suite of Mario Maker stuff
Hmm.
in that style because they just I don't know didn't feel like making the new graphics for things in that style. I don't know why that's not a full style, but it also has stuff that's unique to that style
Hmm.
that you can't get in the other
Yeah.
modes.
So
So
speaking of stuff that's unique to that mode, the big question, which I don't know the answer to, is Birdo in this mode or this thing?
I can't remember. Let me look it up real quick. um,
Hmm.
do 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 do
On
do
the
do
fly
do. This will get
research.
edited in post. Do 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 do. Or not. Who knows? This might not get edited. Oh, come
This
on.
is gold. This is what people tune in for.
Uh, don't get too excited about Super Mario Bros. 2 editions. They're limited to a new mushroom power up and a new enemy. But what's the new enemy? It's Fanto. The new enemy is Fanto.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so like I was saying before, the update is a bit more limited than what people were hoping for out of the sort of headline for this, which is they're bringing Mario 2 stuff to Mario Maker 2.
and the pick up and grab mechanic certainly does change up things. Like the example in the
Sure.
announced video is picking up and carrying a Chain Chomp's post.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
just carrying it around and having the Chain Chomp attack enemies for you.
That's funny.
So like stuff like that, and people have made some interesting levels using the mechanics. But you're right, it's a half
Hmm.
measure.
Yeah,
Um,
it's more like importing some mechanics from it rather than content from it.
I've heard it
Um,
described as Super Mario Bros. 3 USA, uh, sort of.
huh.
So
Interesting. But so also, this doesn't mean that we'll be covering it on the site.
Well, it does put Fanto in, so
Okay. Oh, that's
I
true.
mean, yeah, we probably should, given the weaker justifications I've used for including other things. Um,
Okay. So,
yeah,
new game for the site Mario Maker 2.
yeah,
Joining Mario Maker 1, which was, I guess, relevant because of all the costumes, right?
that is true. I think.
Yep.
I want to say yes. Yes, totally, because they had all the Smash Bros. Characters. So
Yes. It had Junior in it, actually.
it had Junior, it had the Ice Climbers, it
Hmm.
had some other relevant characters. Um,
Did it have Donkey Kong style Mario?
um, that's a good
We should do
question.
more research.
We should do more research. I didn't really play Mario Maker 1 much at all. I don't know. It
I
was it
didn't
was
play it at
during
all.
it was during one of my unemployment periods where I didn't have money to buy new games, and it didn't
Mm,
have like a campaign mode. That was the primary reason
that's
I got
right.
Mario Maker 2, was it actually had a single player mode. And I was like, oh, okay,
Mm,
new Mario game that also has a robust level maker attached to it, which I will never
mm.
touch. But hey, let's go through the campaign. And it was an interesting campaign because it was sort of like levels were accessed from a job board as like job request posts that all came with their own
Mm.
little flavor text story behind the level you were about to partake in.
That's cool. Like WarioWare DIY.
Kinda, yeah.
Mm.
And requests would come from like Toads or Toadette or
Mm.
Bowser under an assumed name asking for parenting advice, or Junior trying to be nefarious. Um, and the Squid Sisters and Off the Hook from Splatoon 1 and 2 for some reason.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Cross promotion,
yeah,
branding,
interesting.
synergy,
I mean, I
corporate
wasn't
synergy.
complaining. I was surprised, but I wasn't complaining.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the levels were all really good. They were designed by a variety of people around Nintendo, and yeah, good stuff. And you could kind of pick and choose which ones you actually completed. You had to complete like numbers of levels to get through thresholds in the campaign, which consisted of getting enough money to rebuild sections of a castle that you accidentally destroy at the start of the game. Um, so you just kind of have to complete enough levels to get the money to rebuild the castle in full, or reach certain thresholds of completedness to get through different story checkpoints and progress the scenario. So I think
Interesting.
you only end up having to do like 70% of the levels or something like that. So
Hmm.
like if you're struggling on one, you can be like, well, I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to go pick something else off the list. Yeah, it was fun. I haven't really touched
Hmm.
it since then though. Moving on.
Um. Yeah. Moving on. I think we should mention next, in terms of new content being added to games, Baby Wario was added to Dr. Mario World. Now,
Yes.
why is this relevant to us at all?
Um, well, it's relevant because Baby Wario was first introduced in Yoshi's Island DS.
Hmm.
So there is a question of whether we're covering all of the characters introduced there, which is literally just Baby Donkey Kong and Baby Wario.
But
Um,
given, why would we cover Yoshi's Island DS?
um, because Baby Donkey Kong, obviously.
Mm. It's also got Snapjaws
It
returning from
does
Donkey Kong
also have
Jr. in the Jungle
Snapjaws
World.
returning from Donkey Kong Jr.
That's my favorite part.
That is true. I do like that setup and the implied relationship between Baby DK and the Kikis. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so there is a question of whether we're covering like the whole Baby's era, which isn't that many games, honestly. Um, like I classify that as a little differently than just the general Yoshi's Island series, because
Mm,
there's actually like a limited number of Yoshi's Island game that actually have Baby Mario in them.
that's
You
true.
know?
It's only, I think, three.
Yeah, it's like Yoshi's Island DS. Um, where was he in Yoshi's New Island, or was that just
Yeah, yeah.
Yoshi? Was he?
No, he
Oh,
was there.
oh,
It was
okay.
the same. It was the same mechanics. Yeah.
Hmm. It's the same goddamn story.
Yeah, it's not a good game, but it exists. So
It certainly does. And then I
But
guess Partners in Time of the Mario and
yep,
Luigi series would fall in there as well.
and Super Sluggers,
And
right?
and Super Sluggers because it's got baby Donkey Kong, but I guess the
Yes.
baby's also cameo and a bunch of other stuff. That's why this is sort of an open-ended question of like what
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
are we covering from this era? But
But as far as Baby Wario himself, he's only ever existed in Yoshi's
yes,
Island
yes.
DS
So
and now in Dr. Mario
this
World.
is his triumphant return, so that's super
Yeah,
exciting in and of itself, but there's also the implication of like hey, baby Donkey Kong could actually come back again.
that
So
would be
that would
cool.
be cool. Yeah. It's a shame Super like Dr. Mario World isn't getting more attention because I feel like it has probably the best lineup of characters of any of the mobile Mario games at the moment.
Doesn't have Dixie Kong.
It doesn't have Dixie Kong, but it does have Dr. Three Goombas in a trench coat. And this is just the best Mario character that's been created in years, and I will not hear otherwise.
You make a fine point. So that's the new stuff thingy section, I guess. But there's a couple of other news items about old things
Yes.
being brought to light.
Yeah.
So there's a recent Twitter thread from Kate Willayert?
Yes.
Sorry.
Critical Kate.
Critical Kate Willayert, who was kind of following up on something that Gibbon had posted a long time ago on Twitter.
Yeah. She retweeted a post I made back in 2018 on a thread about Pauline being playable. And I commented that, like, hey, good news. She was playable in 1985 in, Famicom Basic and arguably Ladies Golf. Here's my pet theory. And I, trotted out that versus pack library flyer and gave my rationale. But I wasn't, taking myself super seriously or anything. But Critical Kate was. And Super followed up on this and did more extensive research than we did, somehow. Pulling out the manual of Famicom Basic and posting a scan of Mario and Pauline from that game, showing Pauline in a hitherto unseen art style where she kind of looks like a female version of Mario. Like she's got the big nose and the same body proportions and stuff. And Kate then uses that to point back to the flyer, the Versus library flyer, and go, yeah, so that's totally Pauline. I accept this. This is legit.
The nose matches.
Yeah. And yeah, so I just thought that was really neat. But then in addition,
it's a really cool thread.
She follows up with her own little pet theory, talking about how the pack-in demo game that uses Mario and Pauline in Famicom Basic version 3 is an homage to Sheriff, a game made by Miyamoto that predates the Mario and Donkey Kong stuff, and comments that the titular Sheriff also has a similar face design to Popeye, which was originally what Donkey Kong was going to be before licensing stuff fell through, and comments how they could easily see the curled mouth sprite being misconstrued and morphing into Mario's mustache in Mario's design later.
Yeah, so...
And then posits that maybe
sort of...
the damsel that the sheriff is rescuing is, in fact, Pauline, and the sheriff is just Mario, an earlier iteration of Mario.
Jumpman, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that there's all these connections back there, but she lays it out really succinctly.
We will try to
putting
remember
a
to link
together.
that Twitter thread in the YouTube comments.
Yes. Okay, that is cool stuff. And the last news item
is this snazzy guy named Milo did a video on
it's weird being a news item of myself, but like it's something that I
Milo
did.
did
Yeah.
some excellent research and tracked down a physical copy of one of the LCD Crazy Kong games. One of the yeah, I'll let you explain it. You did a video on it.
Yeah, we need to do a full episode about these Crazy Kong games
We really
one
do.
day. But yeah, it's like an LCD handheld in the Game and Watch style. There were a bunch of other companies that made these, of course, including Grandstand. Now, what Grandstand did a lot of the time was license games from other companies and sort of rebranded them. So I was trying to track down whether this is a rebrand or not. Anyway, it's a whole thing. It's very complicated, but the point is, it's a game called Crazy Kong with a gorilla antagonist. It's sort of a follow-up to Hero and Princess, where you're a guy rescuing a damsel from the gorilla. But in this version, you're just the guy and there's just the gorilla. But it's very much a Donkey Kong Jr. Game and Watch kind of clone sort of thing. But yeah, it's a really cool little game, and I did a video showing gameplay of it, with some close-ups of the sprites and stuff, and talked a bit about its history and speculation about its development, because there's not much to go on, and I unfortunately don't have the manual. But yeah, we're going to link that video in the description as well if you want to check that out.
Yeah, it was a good video.
Yeah, this particular game, because there's three or four other games called Crazy Kong, but this one is the least reported on and represented in online websites and stuff. So I thought it was really I was really happy to be able to bring it to light, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and,
it's always nice when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah.
So I think that's all our news updates for the time being.
Yeah, that was a lot. Oh, we've been going so long.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing we decided to do this with multiple episodes.
Yeah. So should we just do Donkey Kong today?
Let's go over the episode. There are a lot of them. Wow. There's what, 18, 19 episodes with Donkey Kong?
Yeah, 19 or 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go through Donkey Kong and see how it goes, and we may save Donkey Kong Jr. for another episode, and this may be a 3-episode series. So, but yes,
Okay.
we will be starting
Topic
with the
time.
Saturday Supercade, which is...
It's the Saturday Supercade, gather round. We got your video friends together. Yeah. It's the theme song for the whole show is really fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's definitely sort of lampooning an era of music there.
I don't know about lampooning or just trying to... was it the zeitgeist or was it a bit late?
That's fair. It's of that era. It's got a trippy intro sequence with fireworks and arcadey effects, sprite effects.
But yeah, let's say what Supercade is. So Saturday Supercade is a television show that ran from September 1983 to December 1984. It was an hour-long block, but it was an anthology with 4 different segments that were based on popular video games at the time, arcade games or home games.
Yeah, and among these segments could be Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., but they also featured such video game stars as Frogger and Cubert, Pitfall, Space Ace, and Kangaroo, just to give you an idea of what was out in the video game landscape of the day.
Yeah, and some of those have survived longer than others. Some were sort of fizzled at the time. I don't know. But yeah, getting all those superstars, especially Donkey Kong, Frogger, and Qbert, was like a big get.
Yeah.
And to have them all together in one show is really interesting, although they don't really interact because they have their own segments. There are brief interactions in the opening intro and also between shows. They had a little animated bumper where they would sort of briefly meet and then go on to their own show, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like you're saying with the intro, it's really fun. Just all the characters cavorting
Yeah.
around, and there's a sort of effect where when they first appear, they're sort of blocky and faux pixelated, just drawn with squares, and then they sort of morph into
Yeah,
smoothly
it's a nice
drawn cartoon
effect.
characters. Yeah.
I like it. This is a fun show. It's pretty formulaic. It's by like the same people that did a million other shows back in the day,
Yeah.
like Scooby
It's
Doo and
animated.
all of the Scooby
Yeah.
Doo knockoffs.
Yeah.
There's
It's animated by Ruby Spears, and
yeah,
I read a really fun Twitter thread recently where a guy went through and
oh
gave a
yeah,
summary for every single Ruby Spears and adjacent show that was attempting to knock off its
and
own Scooby Doo property.
there's a ton of reused animation everywhere. Like Mario's van looks very familiar to fans of Scooby Doo.
It's literally the Mystery Machine in a different color.
Yeah, and as I
Yep.
was noting in one of my notes for the episodes, there's only one type of car in the world, and it's this van. Um, because bad guys will often drive around in nondescript versions of this vehicle. It's a thing. But
Yeah, in this case, it's a circus van.
yeah,
But yeah, we're gonna on this episode we're gonna talk about the Donkey Kong show specifically
yeah.
and go into a bit more detail on it.
Did Donkey Kong have the most appearances in the Supercade? I feel like 20
yeah, it
is
was one of the
lot.
longest running. Yeah, for a show that only lasted a year.
Yeah.
It's certainly a lot more episodes than the other ones that I remember seeing lists of. But yeah, like you're saying, it's quite formulaic. It has a sort of villain of the week setup.
It's
It's one of those things where the premise is explained in the intro, not through words in this case. It's an instrumental intro, but it shows you what happens. DK escapes from the circus, and Mario and Pauline go and chase him, and that's all you need to know. And that's
Yep.
how every episode starts.
Pretty much.
Is Donkey Kong is somewhere, and Pauline and Mario are chasing after him in the van, trying
Yeah.
to recapture him and bring him back.
Surprisingly, even in these early 80s episodes of the Supercade, the basic character dynamics that would later be present in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series are already established in that, like, DK and Pauline get on fine and often cooperate, and Pauline's just sort of kind of going along with Mario's stuff, but also keeping him in line where she needs to. And Mario's just single-mindedly focused on getting at Donkey Kong, despite whatever else is going on, often to the detriment of things. Like,
Yeah, he sometimes ends up causing more trouble than
yeah,
good.
there are a
Yeah.
fair whack of episodes where Mario succeeds in capturing Donkey Kong, but like in the process allows the bad guys to carry out their scheme and kidnap the damsel of the week or rob the store or whatever. At which point, Pauline is
bank
like,
heist or
Mario, what
whatever.
the fuck are you doing? Uh, so
Yeah, there's always some other villainous party who then interacts with them. It usually goes that they have coerced or tricked Donkey Kong into helping them with their scheme, and then Mario and Pauline have to come in and convince Donkey Kong that he's doing a bad thing and that he has to then stop the villains. So it's
Which-
interesting.
more often than
Like you
not
said.
is Mario attempting to stop the villains so he can go back to getting at Donkey Kong, and Pauline going to recruit DK's help, going, hey,
Yeah.
DK, they tricked you. You want to help us get back at them? And DK's like, oh, crap, yeah.
Yeah, she goes, DK, they're actually thieves, right? And he's like, what? Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's...
But like you said, the character dynamic is set up there, and I think that's my favorite part of the show is they all have their own personality, and they have these relationships
Yeah.
where Pauline is very respectful of DK and vice versa, and Mario is focused on DK and doesn't really have that much of a relationship with Pauline, to be honest. Even though they're supposed to be in a relationship in some versions of
Yeah.
the backstory. But what was I
Yeah.
gonna say?
I noticed, even though they don't really use the video game music at all, there were a few episodes where the Donkey Kong leitmotif from the arcade game was sort of massaged into the stock incidental music in places.
Yeah, and it's fun to recognize that when it happens. I think in the junior show, which we'll get to later, they have the junior intro jingle in the main theme song,
Hmm.
but not the case in this
Yeah.
one, I don't think.
Some other general notes: their voices are nothing like what they would later be established as. Mario doesn't even sound vaguely Italian. To my ear, he
Yeah.
sounded like a young John C. Reilly.
Yeah, he's not Italian stereotype. He's not even a New York stereotype like Bob Hoskins.
Yeah,
He's just kind of a normal guy.
Think like Wreck-It Ralph, but angrier.
Isn't his whole thing that he's angry?
No, his entire thing is that he's kind of depressed that everyone thinks he's a bad guy.
Oh yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the movie.
Yeah, and whereas, Wreck-It Ralph is the best Donkey Kong movie ever made, and Wreck-It Ralph is voiced by John C. Reilly, imagine instead
okay.
if, like, John C. Reilly were voicing, like, Fix-It Felix Jr. Yeah.
And speaking of voices, Donkey Kong, and they do call him Donkey Kong every single time in the show.
Yep.
He can speak English and even some French. I noted he at one point he just says like a common. I don't remember what it was, but like
He speaks in animal gibberish, but also in English, which I actually think is a really nice compromise because depending on the media, Donkey Kong will speak English or even just game to game. Like in the GBA remakes, all the Kongs are just speaking English. And then in like Skylanders, Donkey Kong is speaking in like ape speak, and Bowser can still understand him in like a Chewbacca
like,
dynamic.
Itadaki Street and Boom Street.
Yeah.
He goes like ook ook, and then in brackets it says what he's saying.
So it's a nice compromise that in this he sort of speaks both. And Pauline can still understand him regardless of what he's speaking, and Mario never seems to understand him even when he's speaking English.
Yeah, he's. I like his voice a lot. He's voiced by Soupy Sales, who is a well-known guy who gets pies thrown in his face, I guess. I think that's what he's most known for. He's like an old-timey comedian guy. But yeah, he's got this catchphrase where he sort of goes, "Yep, yep, yep." Which is like his generic noise. But yeah, he also speaks in these short sentences. And he also likes to say his name, Donkey Kong.
Yep. And he'll often he'll talk for ape speak in a bit, and then they say something in English. So like he'll be like, "Oh, yep, that's what I'm doing." Sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I like the premise how DK's just trying to get away, and really I'm on his side in this scenario because he's escaping from a circus.
I think it was it? I think it's Gorilla My Dreams opens with in mid chase. And Pauline's like, "Do you just like getting chased around?" And DK's like, "Yep, I do." And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Alternately, the first episode, Mississippi Madness, starts with him working on a riverboat, and he's got a striped shirt on, and he's like wearing clothes.
I like how the first episode makes no attempt at any sort of like origin of the premise. They're just like, "Yep, this is a
because
thing."
It's in the intro. Yeah, everything that you need to know about the show is in the opening, credits.
That's fair.
And
these sorts of shows never really did
like
a first origin episode, did they?
No, there's no arc. There's no beginning. There's no ending. Definitely, it's all middle.
Yeah, I guess it'd be common for longer running shows of this era to like maybe in a later season do like a flashback to how we all met episode sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, but So like, yeah, Donkey Kong's there very much in his character from the games, more or less, being sort of like a comical antagonist.
Yep.
Who,
Big
who
old
is,
goof.
you know, stubborn and misled, but a decent guy at heart.
Yep.
I noticed in several episodes he often throws things at Mario, sometimes when he's climbing stairs or something.
Yeah.
Like jars or columns or sometimes barrels. But
Sometimes.
throwing cylindrical objects is part of his character.
They didn't have a lot to work with here, but by God, they went with it.
Yeah, I do like what they did. For Mario, they actually sort of invented some new things or changed some things. In that like, as you said, he's obsessed with capturing Donkey Kong, but he comes up with these schemes to do it. So he's always inventing like Rube Goldberg machines. Or if you
don't
haven't played
actually
The Incredible
think
Machine,
they fabricated that out of whole cloth, because Donkey Kong Jr. shows that he's got like a lair and made the snap jaws and stuff.
right? That's a very good point.
So-
He lays traps and everything in that. So yeah, I guess you could say it's in line with that characterization. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. He comes up with these harebrained contraptions, and they never work how he wants them to. Like, there's a cage suspended over a thing, and a tree, and a rope, and they end up getting caught in their own thing sometimes. Yeah.
I was about to say the one during the greenhouse episode worked, but that wasn't his invention, was it?
Which one's that?
It's the vacuum into a cage. It's like the Ghostbuster contraption, except that was Stanley's and not Mario's.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, for the most part, the episodes don't really have anything to do with the games they're nominally based on. They just feature characters from them.
Yeah, I really like any adaptation that expands on the original concept, because if every episode was set in a construction site, it would get really boring, I think. But this type of show is very much like, well, it's kind of like a road trip. Every episode, they're in a new location. They're on the Mississippi riverboat, like I said. Later on, they go to Mexico. Yeah, they're just traveling all over North America.
They go to
chasing Donkey Kong
Africa at
down.
one point.
They do. That's my favorite episode, actually, for a number of reasons. Should we go deep into each one? So list out the episodes, say a little something about each one.
Yeah, why not?
Like I said, episode 1, Mississippi Madness. DK's working on a riverboat, and then when he gets spotted by Mario and Pauline, he quickly ditches that. Blah, blah, blah. There's an emerald heist, and DK gets away. It's a really simple example of the formula. But I always noted when I was watching these episodes how he gets away at the end, because he always does.
Yeah.
But in this case, he jumps into a bus, rips the roof off so that he has room, and then he drives the bus. So DK can drive vehicles. That's established.
Yeah. I like the running gag of how he uses things the wrong way. Like in a later episode, someone's like, "Oh, take the plane," and he jumps on top of the plane and rips the wing off and starts paddling it like a boat.
That is also in episode 19, and that's another reason why that's my favorite episode, because I laughed out loud at that joke. Which the show doesn't often do for me. Like, it's a fun little show, but that episode actually had good comedy in it, I think.
Yeah.
I actually specifically noted that the name of the writer, Cheryl Scarborough, because I was so impressed with that particular episode. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Let's see. The next one's Gorilla Gangster.
Yeah, so I didn't actually watch this one because parts of this show are sort of lost. It's never been re-released.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And basically, all that we had access to is what people have put up on YouTube from various videotape rips. And that's not complete, so we weren't able to watch the whole show, unfortunately. I checked like Lost Media Wiki, and it says that the whole show has been found and has been sort of distributed on bootleg DVDs and stuff, but I couldn't find one of those, like a rip of it or anything. So unfortunately, we couldn't review all of the show for this podcast.
Yeah, but we went through a lot of it.
And like we've said so many times, it's very formulaic, so
Yeah.
you don't specifically need to
Guerrilla
watch all of
Gangster
them, really.
prediction. DK gets caught up
Sure.
in some bad parody of a mob and has to be told that, like, DK, you're working for the mob. What?
Yes, and there's likely going to be some comical gangster accents.
Yeah. Yeah,
And somebody's going
wise
to call somebody
guy.
else a wise guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of in the Little Mermaid animated series, there's a recurring character, the Lobster Mobster, and he talks like that, and he's always talking about taking over something.
Yeah.
That's just what he wants to do. It's probably something like that. There might even be a giant lobster in it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Episode 3 is Banana Bikers, and the villains are a trio of bikies or bikers. Yeah. Motorbike gang members.
Yeah.
And a couple of things I noticed on this is that Donkey Kong uses roller skates. Mario dresses as a painter at one point because he's painting like a billboard to make a trap. Donkey Kong gets away on a motorbike at the end, so he can also ride a motorbike. And there's one quote that really stood out to me. Mario says, because DK snuck away from them while their back was turned, which happens in almost every episode. And Mario goes, "How did that big ape learn to be so sneaky?" And Pauline says, "I trained him that way." So that's another indication of their relationship and just what Pauline has been teaching him. Maybe the reason he can talk is because Pauline taught him to talk.
Huh. Well, I don't know, because, like, Junior can talk.
That's true. Junior can talk
And
a lot better than DK,
all of
actually.
their all of their relatives can talk too, and they all talk better than Donkey Kong does. It's very much a Scooby-Doo situation.
Yes. But in that same episode that is my favorite.
Man,
that
a
we're gonna
bunch of
talk about later,
Scooby-Doo's relatives were Southern too. What the fuck?
Yeah, we'll talk about Bones in the Junior coverage, but yeah, like later on they're auctioning Donkey Kong. Anyway, like somebody says, "Oh, it's a talking gorilla, $1,000." So it seems like talking animals is unusual in this world, and yet nobody usually reacts to Donkey Kong talking.
Yeah, it's an episode by episode thing.
That's true. And like I sort of implied, there's different writers. There's one guy who wrote a larger proportion of the episodes than others, but they did also have a sort of rotating writer squad. That's how you say it, isn't it?
Writer's room?
It's not exactly a writer's room, I don't think.
A stable of writers.
Sure. So episode 4, The Incredible Shrinking Ape. Not available, but what do you think happens?
Oh man, I wonder.
Do you think that Mario and Pauline get shrunk as well?
I bet they do.
Otherwise, it would be over too quickly. But he might escape into a mouse hole or something.
I could see the entire comedy be the physicality of Donkey Kong being like mouse sized and still managing to upend all of Mario's plans.
Yeah, he could be incredibly strong still, so he could still knock things over or stuff. Or he could slip through the holes of a net, because they often try to throw a net on him.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm reminded of one of the follow-up coloring books, where the premise was that a kid was playing the arcade game, but the characters were living inside it and sort of looking out through the screen at him, and they were tiny. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. I remember commenting to be like, oh, Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's that, I guess. Episode 5 is Movie Mania.
I'm assuming that this would be a Hollywood-themed ones with outrageous Hollywood, California accents. Donkey Kong, baby!
And yeah, caricatures of famous actors.
Yeah. But again, not available for the general public.
No, unfortunately. I would guess that Donkey Kong becomes the star of a movie inadvertently.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because that would be a good plot.
Oh, what if it's a King Kong pastiche? What if Donkey Kong's the star of King Kong?
Okay.
I kind of want to track this one down now.
Yeah. Maybe we'll find more episodes. Maybe we can do a follow-up episode if we find the other shows. I don't know. So you mentioned this one before, episode 6.
Yes.
Gorilla My Dreams.
Gorilla My Dreams. This is one of the ones I took extensive notes on. This was when I didn't note the trend at the time, but I took some notes on it later, was that, they use a lot of Southern people in these. I guess Mississippi Madness, just starting right off with that. But now the main
and
damsel...
the villain of that was like a very Southern colonel kind of thing.
The main damsel of this one is literally the Southern Belle, as the two goons call her. The two goons
and her name
that
is
have...
literally O'Hara.
Yeah.
As in Scarlett O'Hara.
The
Although
goons,
her name is
which
Persimmon
weirdly have pirate accents, even though they're just kind of generic street goons and not pirates.
Yes. But they're on a ship, and they're
on
bad
a
guys,
ship.
so
This is the one that starts out mid-chase, and DK's like, "Yup, love getting chased around," and Pauline's just like, "Oh," and DK sneaks onto a cruise. Is it supposed to be like a romantic getaway cruise? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just like a cruise ship.
But the Miss O'Hara falls for the stocky captain of the boat, and then loses her glasses and mistakes Donkey Kong for said big burly man.
Yeah, she's extremely short-sighted, and she sort of falls in love with Donkey Kong. But so at the end, the captain takes off his glasses so that he can then fall in love with her, because they sort of imply that she's ugly, but I don't know, did you get that?
No, she's no uglier than anybody else in the show.
It was a really weird plot point that, she's really plain and nobody would want to marry her.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't draw her that way.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Also, that's just kind of a general problem in shows where women characters are like, "Oh, I wish I was pretty," and it's like, what are you talking about? You're an attractive female actor.
Yeah.
And I guess that carries over to cartoons. So
I guess so. In this case, it does. So DK bluffs his way onto the ship by putting a fake turban on his head, and the captain is like, "Oh, Swami, welcome aboard."
Yeah.
Which is a little odd.
Which implies that there was a Swami on the guest list, because the captain is checking people off of a guest list.
Is that racist, or is he just really nearsighted as well?
Who knows? It's probably a little racist.
Mm-hmm.
And, hijinks ensue as Mario and Pauline are chasing DK around this cruise ship, and the two goons are chasing Miss O'Hara around
Persimmon
the ship.
O'Hara, yeah.
While the romance is going on between DK and O'Hara.
Yeah, it's funny. And Mario and Pauline are trying to distract him from it, so Mario at one point takes what do you call it?
This inner tube that for some reason,
like a float toy.
I'm not going to imply the kid
on it.
Took his dad's blow up doll and turned it into a pool toy, but that's the only rationale I can think of for why the hell a pool toy has a buxom blonde sticking out of it. So
it's so strange because it's just a woman's head on a ring. And it's not even like a mermaid thing, because she doesn't have a tail. And anyway, Mario fakes that it's Pauline, and instead of jumping in to rescue her like he expects DK to do, DK runs over, grabs a straw, and drinks the whole pool like he does a Tiddalick, the giant frog, and just drinks all the water and then spits it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. DK can just do crazy things sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, the climax of the episode is really interesting, because they're actually going to go ahead and get married right there on the ship, and the captain is going to marry them. Yeah. This is Donkey Kong and Persimmon O'Hara, I mean.
Yeah.
And DK's all there in a full tuxedo and a top hat, and they're about to do the vows and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, and in typical drama fashion, the speak now or forever hold your peace. and Mario and Pauline and the goons all shout and each grab different people. And as I was saying before, Mario actually managing to capture Donkey Kong gets in the way of Donkey Kong preventing Miss O'Hara from being kidnapped. So, which means that
Yeah, and then
Mario then has to weepingly let DK go so that he can go help rescue her. So,
yeah, it's like a really big moment actually, and that's one of the reasons why I would put this episode on a must-watch list if you're interested in the show.
the fact that Mario is just kind of oblivious to everything else going on in the room, doesn't care that he's just disrupted a wedding, doesn't care that somebody just got kidnapped, possibly isn't even aware, just doing a bit of a victory dance. Yes! I finally captured him! Yeah! And Pauline's like, God damn it, Mario.
Read the room.
Basically.
Yeah. Mario really is the villain in this overall story.
I mean,
And like I was saying before,
yeah.
like there's a reason that recent laws have stopped circuses from using live animals.
There's also a reason that, like, the most recent Mario versus Donkey Kong game with a plot, the plot is literally Mario or Pauline's trying to set up a surprise party for Mario. So the way she distracts him is asking DK to run across his line of sight because she knows that will cause Mario to just single-mindedly chase after him and assume he's up to no good for the rest of the day. That's literally the plot, is DK, go distract Mario. I know he's got a hate on for you.
Yeah. So it's good seeing that characterization carry through from
Yeah.
this 1983 cartoon to a 20XX video game.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. 201X, I guess. Anyway, at the end of this episode, Donkey Kong gets away by riding on the back of a shark.
Yep. Which prompts me to note asking when we are going to get our rideable shark animal buddy in a Donkey Kong Country game. Maybe if we ever get Donkey Kong Country 0 or Donkey Kong Country -1 about Senior's later days, we'll have a rideable
Isn't that what
shark.
you say Jungle Beat is? Isn't that what your theory about Jungle Beat is?
I go back and forth on Jungle Beat. The
Sure.
present fan wank I really like is that the evil Kongs are all sort of possessed versions of the DK crew. So
I
like
liked that,
Karate
yeah.
Kong is Cranky and Ninja Kong is Swanky and Sumo Kong is Kitty and Dread Kong is Funky. And they've been
That actually
possessed by
works,
the
yeah.
same black tar stuff that Final Kong has been spreading around. Because after he's been defeated, those four go back with Donkey Kong to the starting kingdom and celebrate. So
And then immediately after the game cuts away, they turn back into their normal forms.
sure.
Yes. So, moving on. Episode 7 is called Little Orphan Apey, but we couldn't see this one.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
So hard to know
It's
if this is a
about-
pun name, purely a pun name on Little Orphan Annie, or if the episode was actually a lampoon or not.
So, what is the story of Little Orphan Annie?
Well, there's this little orphan named Annie.
Gotcha. I could get that from the title, yes.
Little Orphan Annie is actually a comic strip
Okay.
from the 1920s.
Wow.
And it's about, little orphan Annie and her dog and just sort of the stuff they get up to. But it's had a couple different shows in it and whatnot.
I thought she was a gunslinger. What's that about?
What?
Annie? Little Annie?
Are you thinking of Annie Oakley?
Oh, maybe I am. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
If you've heard songs such as Tomorrow or It's a Hard Knock Life, those are from
Yes.
the musical based off of this, simply titled Annie, which has been remade a number of times. And the plot of that musical is you have Little Orphan Annie, who gets adopted by the local rich socialite, and she, melts his hardened heart and helps him find romance and whatnot.
Huh.
And it starts out
There
as
is
sort of
a
a political ploy, but they end up all being a happy family by the end of it.
Okay. There is a later episode of this show where Donkey Kong gets adopted by a rich family, but that's not
That's
they
not
couldn't have
Little
done
Orphan
that
AP
twice.
though. So
No. Okay. So my theory or my prediction for what this plot is that Donkey Kong gets mistaken for an orphan and puts a little blonde wig on, and lives in an orphanage, and then Mario and Pauline.
I'm just trying to imagine DK singing "It's a Hard Knock Life" in his Scooby Doo voice. It's a hard knock life. Rush. Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So episode 8 was interesting because it tied into the backstory. It's
Yes,
called Circus
actually,
Days.
Circus Days,
Yes.
DAZE, which I thought was actually a good pun title. And this one sees a rival traveling circus, or I guess a more nefarious traveling circus, getting their hands on DK so that he will be the star of their attraction.
Yeah. They want to steal DK away so that their circus will be more successful.
The sound quality on the
describe-
one I was watching, I never quite got what the villain and the new trainer's names were.
Oh, yeah. He's called Barney Todd,
Okay.
and it's like Barney Todd's circus. I'm not sure what her name is, but she's an interesting character with a fun voice.
Yeah.
Who is sort of not as villainous as him, but is sort of working
She
under
kind of
him.
reminded me of the Ghostbusters secretary, voice and attitude wise.
Yeah, sure.
Little dry but upbeat ish, just trying to do her job. And a rare woman with black hair in this series.
Well, true, yeah. When they go to Mexico, Pauline puts on a black wig to disguise herself as a Mexican dancer.
But yeah, we get to see DK and Mario and Pauline showing off their circus stuff in this episode, interestingly enough.
Yeah, Pauline does a turn as a lion tamer at one point.
Yeah, she does a turn of a lion tamer. Her and Mario dress up as clowns and do an act, and they're actually good at it.
Yeah, that's cool. Another thing I like about
doing
this
acrobatics.
show is most episodes have a new costume or disguise, and so it's fun seeing what they dress up as. At one point, they pretend to be the vets or the vet and nurse for the circus, and Mario has like this enormous fake beard and has this incredible like comedic German caricature accent. He's like, "Yes, let me see the patient." It's bizarre, and it's also strange that the woman doesn't know the vets. Like, wouldn't she know that these people aren't actually the circus vets? Because they're part of the circus, right? Presumably? I don't know. Another thing I noted was that Barney Todd refers to Pauline and Mario's circus that they've come from as that Goody Two-Shoes circus, although he doesn't give it a name, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, the side of their van literally just says circus.
Yes. They're the circus.
Yep.
A
circus.
couple of
One
small
word.
notes. Mario at one point pulls a lever in the van, and his chair shoots out and grows a helicopter blade and a rocket. So he has invented this incredible little like self-flying ejection seat. Of course, it crashes pretty soon, but it's just another example of his crazy inventions.
Maybe this is why he eventually settles down with just wind-up toys.
Yeah, it all makes sense, really.
Yeah.
It all connects, yeah. So the other plot that kicks in at a certain point is that Donkey Kong, in a very, cartoonish thing, he gets bonked on the head and suddenly develops a fear of heights, which is why he gets taken to the vet.
Yeah, this is where the pun name comes from. It's the days from the circus days.
Oh, yeah.
but it's really like the B plot of the episode. Like it's not the
Yeah.
main focus. The main focus is rescuing Donkey Kong from this other circus so that they can go back to capturing him to take him back from to their circus.
Yes, except this circus is slightly more evil, I guess.
Yeah, and like at
So
one point Pauline gets revealed and used as like a hey DK, if you don't cooperate, we're gonna do bad things to Pauline, and the new trainer gets fired because they don't need her anymore to make DK do his stuff. But then she teams up with Mario, so you've got some like cross teaming going on. And yeah, it's a good episode.
yeah, I would put this one on the must-watch list as well because of how it ties into the backstory.
Yeah.
Oh, and in case you were wondering how Donkey Kong's fear of heights gets cured, one coconut for yes, two coconuts for no. Like, he gets bonked on the head again, and then he is okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it works in cartoons. That they do the same thing literally in Captain N, actually, where Simon gets amnesia by bonking himself on the head, and then he gets cured by bonking on the head. But that's for later.
Yep.
And of course, the episode ends with DK getting away. This time, an elephant jumps on a thing and flings him away through the air.
Whee!
Whee!
Let's see.
So episode 9 is called The Great Escape.
The Great Escape.
No copyright infringement intended.
I have in my notes that it's The Great Ape Escape.
Oh, it could be. I did notice some inconsistencies with how names were recorded online. But yeah, it's about prisoners escaping from a jail, and DK gets into the jail somehow and has a prison outfit and everything. I noted that this is actually a time when Donkey Kong is the one using a hammer, not Mario. But he's breaking up the, blocks, or breaking up rocks into smaller rocks. That's something prisoners do, right? I
don't know where that came from, honestly. There's prison football at one point.
Yeah. So they notice how strong DK is, so they recruit him to help them escape. And this is one of those episodes where later on, Mario and Pauline are like, "Hey, these guys are prisoners trying to escape prison, and that's bad, right?" And DK goes, "Oh yeah, that is bad." But yeah, they're doing a prison football game for some reason, and that's part of their plan. Is during the game, Donkey Kong's going to help them escape because there'll be less security of the game or whatever. But yeah, later on, Mario and Pauline show up in a hot air balloon, which is interesting because I'm thinking, where did they get that exactly? But
yeah, don't worry about it.
They also, don't worry about it. It's fine. Where did they also get every disguise they use in every episode? Because this episode they dress up as chefs to infiltrate backstage.
Obviously, these are all just uniforms left over from Mario's many, many jobs.
That's a really good point. They're probably all in the back of the van because we never see inside the van. So, yeah, he's just got a big wardrobe stashed back there. He actually reprises his role as a referee when they infiltrate the gridiron game. And Pauline dresses as a cheerleader, of course. Oh, and then also another one, Mario is like a security guard of some kind later at the end. That's crazy. And it all ends with a cartoonish trope again where DK blows into a football, thus expanding it. And because balloons float up, in cartoons they just do that, he flies away using this balloon made of a football.
It's weird. That has such weird implications. It's like, oh, once we've designated this thing a balloon, it must float. But how do you get the laws of reality to recognize something as a balloon?
You blow into it, that's how. Unless it's someone who's just been squashed by something. Because then if you blow into them, they turn back to normal.
Yeah, I don't know.
That literally happens in the Frogger cartoon.
It'd be weird to apply Saturday morning cartoon physics to a video game somehow. Like if you could make a video game that had Saturday morning cartoon physics. Like where you could run across vast expanses of air as long as you don't angle the camera down.
That's fun. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay, episode 10 is called AP and the Snow Beast, and we do
I'm
not have this one.
not even sure
I'm-
what that title's parodying.
Yeah, who knows? But I'm disappointed that we don't have it because it promises a Yeti,
Yeah.
which could potentially be an expansion of the Kong family,
Mm-hmm.
like Eddie the Mean Old Yeti in the Donkey Kong
Yeah.
Country cartoon. But it might also be fake. Who knows?
Who knows?
It could be a robot Yeti
Yeah.
built by the Great Intelligence.
Yep. A Yeti? Come now, Brigadier.
In the London Underground. Okay, moving on. Episode 11, I alluded to this earlier. How much is that gorilla in the window?
Parodying the song, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?
Of course. This is one where Donkey Kong, to hide from Mario and Pauline, ducks into a pet shop, and then an obnoxious Richie Rich type character, child, comes in and buys Donkey Kong.
I mean, that's, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, and he takes him home and they have all sorts of shenanigans and playtime. He dresses up DK as a palace guard for a play game, and they play mini golf, and DK has a whole golfer outfit, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
The villain in this case is the kid's parents are away, and his caretakers are the butler and the chauffeur. But they're also villains who want to rob the house of all its valuables.
Of course.
And
This is basically just a Richie Rich plot.
Yeah. Did Ruby Spears do that show as well?
Oh, God, I don't know. Let's find out.
So
No, not the comic, not the movie, not the other movie, not the other show, the 1980s series.
not the new show, yeah.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Oh, it's a Hanna-Barbera.
It's just okay. Related. So so Mario and Pauline, to get into this Richo house, they dress as a laundry company. Mario declaring, "I've got disguises for all occasions." Thus,
it might not be
backing
Ruby
up our
Spears, but
theory.
it might have been the same people because it had a split block with Scooby-Doo at one point.
there you go. Okay. So yeah, they're just ripping themselves off all over the place.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much how the episode goes. It ends with Donkey Kong actually being manacled, and oh yep, we're gonna take him away now, and he just pulls off the manacle because he's that strong, and he jumps on a tiny little scooter and just rides away.
Yup.
After that, we got a block of 4 episodes that are unavailable. So Private Donkey Kong, he joins the army, I guess.
It's good enough guess.
Yep. Episode 13, Get Along Little Apey.
Also parodying a song title. Get along, little doggy.
That's like a cowboy thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they probably go to the Old West. Wait, not the Old West. They don't travel in time. They go to a dude ranch or something.
Yeah.
Probably. Sir Donkey Kong is episode 14. They probably go to a Renaissance fair.
Yep, probably.
I think I've seen a short clip of Donkey Kong in armor riding a horse.
You know what?
jousting or
I
something.
want to say you're right.
But we don't have the full episode for that one. And 15, The Pale Whale.
I'm assuming this is a Moby Dick pastiche.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, but episode 16 we do have. It's called El Donkey Kong. And this is the one I also mentioned earlier where they cross the Mexican border. But that doesn't stop Mario and Pauline. It's not outside their jurisdiction, so they follow him.
Because they're Americans, damn it. No.
And this one actually takes a while to introduce the villain, so I was thinking for a while, maybe there's no villain in this one, but there definitely is. But first they meet a matador and his daughter, who has a broken leg and needs an operation. And so he's like, oh, I need to win the big matador competition so I can get the money. And then when they get to the competition, you find the villain is some guy who built a robot bull, and using this supernaturally strong bull, he's going to win the competition because he can control the ball or something. I don't know. It was a bit confusing, but yeah, they take the opportunity to do a lot of Mexican stereotypes where DK has the full bullfighting outfit. Mario and Pauline dress up as mariachi singer dancer combo, and Mario puts on a matador costume at one point to immediately grab DK, but then the matador guy who's there goes, "Hey you, you're gonna dress up as a bull to train Donkey Kong," and he's like, "Oh, okay, I guess." Yeah, and then he gets beat around a bit. It's good when Mario's the comic relief. And yeah, so Donkey Kong enters the competition and wins against the robot bull despite its, massive strength. And in his crowd of loving admirers, he manages to get away from Mario and Pauline.
Yep.
And that's the episode. Oh, and they pass the prize money on to the daughter who needs the leg operation, of course.
Of course.
Of course. Yes, episode 17, New Wave Ape. Did you see this one?
I saw a bit of it. This is the one with DK with like the punk haircut, right?
Yeah, he joins a band because their drummer is sick or something, and they're like, "Hey, you look like you can drum," or he picks up the drumsticks, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's really good." So the band is called Panther and the Thunderbolts, and it's led by Panther, who's a punk chick who has a pretty cool design. And yeah, the villain of the week is the evil the record company executive, the producer guy, and his assistant. And they're doing this thing where like they're stealing the rival band's instruments to sabotage them so that his band can win the competition. So his band is the good guys, but he's the bad guy.
Why do two of them have bebop and rocksteady haircuts?
Because the punks?
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, actually later on Mario and Pauline dress up as punk type, counterculture outfit kind of thing. And that's a really cool look for them, I think.
Yeah, they get some cool outfits in this show.
Exactly, yeah. They also disguise themselves as pizza delivery people.
Ironic.
At a certain point, yeah, because in the Donkey Kong LP record, of course, they ran a pizza shop.
Obviously, just pulling out the uniforms from when they worked at the pizza shop.
Once again, yes, exactly. Yeah, so blah, blah, blah. Panther and the Thunderbolts win the contest fair and square.
Hooray!
And Donkey Kong gets their trophy and swings it around his head like a helicopter and flies away.
Because that's how physics works.
Again, cartoon logic.
Yay!
So, episode 18 is probably the most momentous externally, and one we've actually covered on the show before when talking about Stanley the Bugman, because it's called Greenhouse Gorilla, and it's got the guest appearance, which is really the only time they pull in another character.
Yeah, surprisingly, it's really weird within the context of the show. They don't do this at all. You'd think Junior would guest star in the Donkey Kong show, but he's got his own show, and so it's a little weird that like Stanley is a guest character in this instead of like having his own spot, But maybe they figured like Donkey Kong's already got his own show, so what would we do with Stanley? I don't know.
Well, yeah, even including Stanley apparently is not enough for them, because they also bring in this other element where Stanley has a pet plant called Herman.
Yes.
Who's like an Audrey type talking carnivorous plant for some reason.
Yeah.
And also, it's not just a normal talking carnivorous plant, it also eats metal.
Yeah.
So the villains want to steal it to eat a safe door and steal things. It's bizarre. Like, yes, he has a greenhouse, so he must grow plants.
None of the plants were carnivorous at all.
No, the plants weren't really a factor except for the fly stealing.
Serendipitously lines up with stuff from Tropical Freeze, where the Juicy Jungle world has these big carnivorous plants called like chomp plants, which I am stubbornly insisting are the biological thing that chain chomps were based off of.
Ooh, good theory.
And then, as sort of an Easter egg, one of the artists got permission to include the greenhouse from Donkey Kong 3 in the background of one of the levels, so that you can, like, that decision was made, like,
You
later,
can also see
but it also dovetails nicely with, like this episode serves as sort of a bridge for those concepts of, like, oh, Stanley had these plants in his greenhouse, and him not being there anymore just allowed them to overrun the area.
Oh
Sort of
yeah.
thing.
Oh, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Because as we all know, TV shows are canon.
Clearly, we have found all these connections, and then there's all these crazy weird things that happen as well, which only add to my appreciation of.
I mean, they're
the
no
franchise,
weirder
really.
than other things that happen in the series. So.
Exactly. They fit right in.
Yeah.
But speaking of weird things, like Stanley, his voice is really strange.
He's also not proportioned like anybody else in the show.
That's right.
He looks almost exactly like his arcade cab art.
Yeah. It's weird.
In stark contrast to everybody else who's sort of like quote unquote normally proportioned. Stanley's like half height and bulbous. Stanley is proportioned like Mario characters are now.
Yes.
Like think Mario in New Donk City. That's the contrast we're talking about here, as far as Stanley being in this episode as a guest character.
Yeah, he's the strange gremlin creature in this world.
Yeah.
The way Mario is later. But, so the audio for my rip was also bad for this one. But I swear early in the episode, the villain pops up and calls Stanley Dr. Stanley. Did you hear that, do you think?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I can check.
Yeah, I swear, like, he comes up and says, oh, Dr. Stanley has this magic plant that eats metal. We need to get it. But, like, what does that imply about Stanley? That's crazy. Like,
I don't know. We all know he's an Air Force captain, so I don't know where they're getting this doctorates from.
You're so right.
But then he might have been drafted because, his brother was a toy
polymath.
maker and got drafted to be a bomb disposal unit member. So.
Oh, it's too deep.
Oh, the clip of DK in the knight armor on the horse is from the intro, the Donkey Kong segment intro.
Right, there you go. Yes.
Let's see, beginning of the episode. Here we are. Oh yeah, he pops up and he goes, Dr. Stanley must be around here somewhere.
Yeah, so this is a guy who owns a nursery, but is a doctor of plants, I guess, which is maybe he invented or developed the okay. Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
What's the story of that exactly?
I think it's been like 20 years since I last watched that.
Is Rick Moranis a doctor?
From what I recall, Rick Moranis' character just buys the plant and is told, like, don't be careful what you feed it. And
don't feed it after midnight.
Yeah,
don't get it wet.
The plant accidentally gets some of his blood, like he bleeds on it a little bit. And then it turns into Audrey. Shop of Horrors. Film. Plot. Nope, Seymour just works at a flower shop. Yeah.
I guess I was confusing him with his character from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a florist.
So,
who knows?
So the villain in this, later on when he enters like the ball, they announce him as Mr. X, but I don't know if that's his real name. But yeah, later in the episode, they go to a fancy ball for some reason. And to sneak in, Stanley the Bugman actually dresses up in a tuxedo in his little gremlin frame for some reason. Whereas Mario and Pauline are posing as waitstaff to get in the back way. And Donkey Kong is actually there in a tux as well, again, wearing a top hat, as he did for his aborted wedding. and hijinks, of course, ensue.
Mm-hmm. And this was
But
another like,
yeah,
Donkey Kong, you know he's just using you to rob all these people, right? Oh my god! No! Yup, yup, yup.
yes, and he jumps out the window and drives a car away.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a pretty formulaic episode, but the inclusion of Stanley gives it an
Considering
extra,
how little the plot of the Donkey Kong Jr. segments have to do with the game, like it's literally Junior is the only person from that because Mario and Donkey Kong are already over in Donkey Kong. So I fully believe they could have made a a recurring segment around Stanley had they wanted to, but I think because he's just so generically a video game protagonist. That
what if he joined the main cast? He jumped in the van with.
He could have, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's only 2 episodes after this.
Or they could have made him the sidekick character in Donkey Kong Jr. if they really wanted to.
Oh, yeah. But he has an antagonistic relationship with Donkey Kong.
I mean, yeah, but Donkey Kong has a playfully antagonistic relationship with everybody. So
true enough. Actually, DK actually has a friendly relationship with the plant character in this episode because he kind of retrieves the plant from the villains at some point, I think, or something like that. But I noticed Herman is like, "Oh, you're my friend," and he kisses him on the cheek, and it's like, "Wow, okay, romance sparking here."
The Saturday Supercade started up like, I guess it was roughly what it was, September. Yeah, it was like a month before Donkey Kong 3 came out, so I guess you couldn't have included Stanley right off the bat. But then they didn't include Stanley until like a year later, so like Donkey Kong 3 had already been out for like a year by that point when Greenhouse Gorilla
cartoons take time to make.
Not these cartoons.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of I'm happy that he's there and it's cool, and I'm happy this episode happened. But it's just kind of baffling why, you know?
Yeah, it makes it more of a weird curiosity, even.
Yeah,
which is why this is also on my must-watch list.
Yeah.
Greenhouse
Anyway,
Gorilla.
next episode.
This is my favorite one.
This is a good episode. It's definitely a series of things happen episode, but they're all funny. So, this is Hairy Parent, which I misread it when I was first taking my notes, and I thought it was going to be Heir Apparent, and it was going to be like DK being mistaken for the son. But no, that's not what happened at all.
No, when I read the title, I was like, "Oh, is he going to be reunited with Junior in this episode?"
Ooh,
no.
Yeah, that could have been a thing.
Like I said, there's no resolution. There's no ending to this story.
Yeah. Yeah, DK runs into a zoo and runs into somebody he knows somehow. Who is Sonny? Did they ever explain that?
They don't.
He runs into another gorilla who's like in shades and yellow shorts and a loud shirt. You say and a loud shirt in the notes, but I don't think that conveys how painfully 90s this gorilla is dressed.
You mean 80s, right?
Yes, that's how outstanding it is.
Yeah. No, he runs in, and this gorilla who is dressed all in clothes is like, "Oh, hey, Donkey Kong," and DK goes, "Oh, Sonny, how's it going?"
And
it's like, what?
And Sonny's like,
how do you people know each other?
"Hey, I've got to keep running away from this zookeeper who tries to get me to eat healthily. Can you deliver a letter to my mother?" And DK's like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Yeah.
It's like, what?
And this is where the plane gag
He's like, "Oh yeah, take that plane to Africa." So DK jumps on top of the plane, rips the wing off, and starts paddling while singing "Row, row, row your plane." And then we smash cut to Mario and Pauline going like, he's getting away, and Mario's like, no, he's not. And they smash cut to like time has passed, and you just have Pauline rowing the boat while Mario's setting up a trap, and Pauline going, I feel like I've been rowing all the way to Africa, and I just lost it at this point. I'm like, nice transition, on point, very good.
And indeed, they are in Africa very quickly.
Yep.
They make it. Mario and Pauline quickly change into safari outfits with pith helmets.
They run into another trapper who's basically like, I'd say the evil opposite of Mario if he weren't doing the exact same things as Mario. So I've just come to the conclusion that this is Waluigi because he's taller and has a hook nose. And Waluigi looks like the original cab art of Mario anyway, so...
And in the episode they call him Trapper Jack, is the villain's name. And it's funny, there's a sequence here where they're competing to capture Donkey Kong and like, oh, I've got an idea. No, wait, I have the same idea, except I heard it first, blah, blah, blah.
Mine's better.
And they both dig a big pit trap to catch Donkey Kong in. And while they're arguing about it, they fall into the pit trap, and Donkey Kong's off to the side just going, you guys are idiots, and he walks off.
Like, they show Mario digging a pit trap, and then dirt's flying into his hole, and he looks over to the other side, and he's been shoveling dirt into Jack's hole, and they start having an argument over whose pit trap is better, and DK just kind of walks up behind them and is like, boo! And they both fall in the pits.
That's right.
And Donkey Kong just walks off while Pauline's off on the side, just holding her head in her hands. And this is basically actually the episode. It's like a recurring string of this, and it's great.
Yeah. It's a good episode for Pauline, too. It's one of the few times that she gets some good lines and good agency in the story. When she takes over the plan from the other two because they're too busy arguing. And she goes, this time I think I'll do the thinking. Yeah. And then comes up with the next plan of the events.
But yeah, so DK gets to Sonny's mom and delivers the letter, but Sonny's mama promptly gets captured by Jack, who says something like, "Oh, it's the wrong gorilla, but whatever."
It'll do.
And is driving off with the kidnapped mother while Mario successfully kidnaps DK, who is trying to go rescue Mama. Not paying attention because he's now got better things to do. And it's one of those, like, Mario gloating, yes, I finally captured him, and Pauline going, God damn it, Mario, let him go so we can go rescue this person.
Yeah. And so the evil poacher guy is actually taking the gorillas to some kind of black market auction where they're selling gorillas off.
Now, how I thought this was going to play out was because they read the letter when DK's trying to explain what's going on, and it's Sonny inviting his mother to come live with him. So I just kind of figured they were going to keep chasing Jack and Mama and eventually wind up back at the zoo and like mission accomplished. And Sonny would be like, "Oh, good, you got Mom here," and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that's totally what we did," but that's not how it played out. Instead,
no, because there's more complications introduced, which is really fun. So there's this whole more disguises. Mario dresses up as a gorilla so that he can get Mama back, but then Mama mistakes him for Papa, Sonny's father. And then Mario is suddenly on the stage at the auction being sold along with Mama. And to note, this is... So they're still in Africa, and there's sort of characters in the background who are like African native type people.
Yeah, that's a polite way of putting it.
Bit of an unfortunate depiction there.
Yeah.
But it was the time that the time was, I guess.
Yeah. That sort of thing stopped depressingly recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we there's more fun and hijinks.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong. So they've kind of swapped places because Mario is in a gorilla suit and Donkey Kong's in the crowd. And this is Pauline's plan: is that he is dressed as a human, or
Yeah.
slightly. He's got a big hat on with a veil, and he's bidding on behalf of.
Yeah.
He's bidding for to buy the gorillas. And his opening bid is 2 bananas. And Pauline goes, Donkey Kong. And he goes, too much? I love that line. It's so good.
He's like, what? I mean, yeah, too much? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess when Mario talks, it's when they start saying, oh, it's a talking gorilla, not noticing that the other gorillas
Yeah, I
also
don't know what's up with that, but...
That might be part of the implication that you were saying before, is that Pauline is the one who understands the gorillas.
That's true, because she was the one who
is their
understood
trainer.
that he was trying to tell them something was up when Mario captured him.
Yeah, so maybe I misinterpreted and like she's the only one who can understand.
Who knows? Oh, might be
So that would
something
be-
worth rewatching and see if Pauline's only ever the one who understands and communicates directly with Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and I would be happy to rewatch this episode because, like I said, it's got a lot of good jokes
Yeah.
and I really liked it. The next, yeah, so they're bidding for him. I said earlier that someone goes, "Oh, it's a talking gorilla, $1,000, $2,000," and Pauline says, "I thought it was overpriced already."
2 bananas was too much.
Yeah, for Mario, this is. And yeah, they get away, blah, blah, blah. And another connection to later events of the Donkey Kong series, Donkey Kong gets away by riding on a rhino.
Yeah. There's lots of little
and then-
things like that throughout these that are like serendipitously, oh, hey, look, this thing from later in the series.
I love seeing those sort of things, yeah. And then they do get in the plane and return to America.
Yeah.
But yeah, an interesting. So, like you said, it was the letter that Sonny was writing to his mama was inviting him. Inviting her to come to live with him in the zoo, basically.
Yeah.
And it's really strange that she's living in Africa in a house.
Yep.
For some reason,
Like she's got a mailbox and she's sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, knitting next to a picture of Sonny. When DK
yeah.
comes to deliver the letter, and she's just snatched from her living
adorable.
space by
Yeah.
a poacher, and it's like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but like, even having said that, the episode is very pro zoo because Sonny's like, it's great living here in this zoo. Why don't you come live with me? And this is sort of a thing in the whole show. There's another segment that we said earlier, Kangaroo, is completely set in a zoo. And in that, the villains are these monkeys who keep trying to escape. And I'm watching an episode of that going, wait a minute, I'm on the monkey's side. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be locking them up anyway. So, yeah, that's just a thing. But yeah, the episode ends with Mama and Sonny reunited, which is, I guess, the important thing.
Yeah.
Even if they're in this Safari Land Park thing. But yeah, this is a great episode because it's got these new gorilla characters. I don't know if they're related to Donkey Kong or not, but yeah, it's a really fun episode.
Well, they might not be blood related, but they know him, like, very apparently. Sonny's like, oh, hey, it's Donkey Kong. And Donkey Kong's like, oh,
and
hey,
we'll
it's
see
Sonny.
later that the Kong clan or the Kong family contains simians of different species
Yeah.
who are considered to be part of the same family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be happy with Sonny and Mama becoming considered part of the Kong family.
And then the final episode, Gorilla on the Trail. But again, we don't know what that's about.
Yes, anticlimax. What do you think it's about?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We already said there was a cowboy episode. This sounds a bit cowboyish.
The
Girl on the
trail.
trail.
It could be like a detective episode. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that could be fun.
Um, let's see. When did this? Oh, it could be a parody of On the Gorilla Trail.
What's that?
I want to say it's a docu thingy on the Gorilla Trail. It's
Oh, it's
a
like a Gorillas in the Mist kind of thing.
yeah.
Jane
Um,
Goodall type thing.
do 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 do. So what's the actual plot of this? Mary Hastings Bradley records the events of a 1921 safari with her husband as they explore the Congo. Yada yada yada. I don't know. So it could be sort of a Jane Goodall type thing, but then they probably would have done a Gorillas in the Mist pun. So I don't know. Might have been like a Sherlock Holmes pastiche. It could have been.
Yeah, what cliche haven't they done yet?
Yeah, I know, right?
Detectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all the episodes. We've been going for a long time, and I knew this would happen when I insisted that we talk about every episode individually. But I think we might save.
Yeah, I feel like at this point we're probably gonna keep this episode to just Donkey Kong. I think that's safe to say.
So that's the episode for this week. We'll be back hopefully quite soon to talk about the junior segments of Saturday Supercade and how they stack up.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about Captain N in another episode.
Yes. And
it's all a lot to cover.
maybe more stuff if we come up with enough material for a fourth installment of this series on the expanded arcade era in cartoon media.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening. Shall we do some quick plugs before?
Yes, I think
before we go.
I think we should. Why don't you start off?
Okay. So we haven't done an episode in a while, but I played a game a while ago that I cannot stop thinking about, and it's just made a really big impression on me. It's called Sayonara Wild Hearts, and it's an indie game made by a small team out of Sweden. But they describe it as a playable pop album. So I guess in basic terms, you could say it's a sort of auto-runner / rhythm game that's set to a synth pop soundtrack. But it's just an amazing Technicolor dreamscape of crazy action.
I'm watching the trailer. It looks trippy.
It's just a joy to play and experience, or even to watch gameplay footage, or even just to listen to the soundtrack, which I have done many times since. And it's like there's all this subtext. It's about relationships, but all the characters in it are female, so it's also very gay, which is good.
Always a good thing.
Yeah. So that's my recommendation. Play that. I played it on Apple Arcade through an Apple TV, but it's also available on everything else, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
My plug for this episode is going to be the Possum Lodge podcast, which is a sort of a radio show continuation of an old television show called The Red Green Show, which aired in many parts of the United States and Canada, and sometimes further afield in other parts of the world, and was sort of a sketch comedy variety show that had a through plot. It's been described as a skitcom.
Okay.
And it sort of started out as a segment on the lead actor's variety show, Smith and Smith, where he was pastiching a Canadian show called The Red Fisher Show, where this guy would just kind of make episodes about his fishing trips. He wouldn't even catch anything some episodes, and he'd just like read poetry to fill airspace and stuff. Very Canadian institution, I guess, from what I gather. I don't know. So Smith did a sort of a pastiche character, Red Green, who had his own hunting and fishing lodge, and just was kind of taking the piss out of the concept, and it evolved into its own full show after the Smith and Smith show ended, where it was just about Red Green up at Possum Lodge with his nephew and the other wacky regulars, and they're sort of the skits surrounding them and the through line of each episode. And so now it was a big part of my life growing up. They used to do live tours and come down to where I lived semi-regularly because for some reason the people in Iowa really loved this show and were regularly the biggest donors during pledge drives. So we always got the in-person visits. So like I've met the man in person, I've talked to various members of the cast and stuff. It was on for like 15 years and I watched the whole thing, and now it's back in like radio show form. And it's
Awesome.
it's on Patreon, on Possum Lodge on Patreon. So the first episode's out. They'll be doing that monthly.
That sounds great. I love narrative podcasts where people are playing characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Not like our podcast.
And we just are characters. We're not playing at all.
Oh.
Uh,
Well, speaking of us as characters, I am Milo, and thank you for listening.
and I am forever Gibbon. And yes, thank you for putting up with an hour and a half of our nonsense.
Yeah, that went a lot longer than I thought, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward
Really?
to
I kind of expected
additional
this to go
cartoon
like a full
episodes.
2 hours, but I if we keep talking, it might go full 2 hours. But
We could, but it's lunchtime, so I gotta go.
fair enough. Well, yes, we will see you next episode where we talk about Donkey Kong Jr. and his lovable sidekick Bones.
So good.
So good.
All right. See you then.